Night Attacks Happy Hour.
Dig. How are you, Justin Robert Young?
Oh, baby. Man, I'm feeling good.
You're buckled up for another week of it.
I'm buckled up. Another week of this shit. Yeah, it was a good day yesterday. Nice little weekend. Got a haircut, had an adventure with laundry, and then otherwise just hung out on my roof, drank beer, and smoked cigars. It was a good time.
Does the universe still look like Mars?
No, Mars was really only a one-day event. Oddly enough, the air quality during the Mars day was good. It was actually like breathable. Yeah, the reason why it was so weird was because it was like a little bubble under the marine layer. So it was like the smoke was trapped above the marine layer, and that's why the light that came down
looked so awesome.
Was only orange, right? Because of on like the spectrum.
Got it.
The color spectrum. The next day, the marine layer moved out, and so we just have wildfire smoke, and it doesn't look like cool, but it is like
legitimately caustic to breathe.
Yeah, I mean, it was the worst I ever saw it the day after the Mars day. Like that Thursday when it was like up around 370 in AQI or 380 in AQI, which, like, to give you a context, 50 is the first level in which it's worse than what you would normally breathe in, that you start to experience anything.
Is that like a Californian thing to be dialed in on that, the way we in Texas would focus on the humidity? Or
these days, yeah, I mean, only really when there's forest fires pouring smoke and people care about it because they have asthma stuff. So that's really why we focus on it a lot, is because Ashley's got asthma, and we want to make sure. That's why we have like 2 air purifiers in our apartment, and she, even during times last week, it's actually not been terrible for her, because in previous years she's had to like go to work, and she doesn't have to like go to work these days. But even then, just sitting by the windows, because our buildings, you've been to our apartment, like our building's fairly old, so
sure,
it's not like
everything's all
as airtight.
in.
Yeah. So it's like, that's why we have the 2 air purifiers that are literally like on either side of her head, and then she's wearing like an N95 mask as well, like at her computer, just like working.
Speaking of N95 masks, I saw something, I guess there was an Axios article talking about people's searches for coronavirus related anything are at an all-time low, and it just keeps on dipping. And when they do search for anything coronavirus related, it's almost always with some kind of political bent of like, who's an asshole for this coronavirus related thing?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope. I've tried to not talk about it as much as I was earlier in our little quarantine adventure, but I do still keep an eye on the death curve, and we're probably going to be hearing about it a lot more this week, because we'll cross into 200,000 dead. But I certainly hope that we've been slowly declining in our death total, and I really just hope that we can continue that trend, and if not, accelerate it. But it is what it is, I guess, at a certain level.
Yeah, man. I do think it's interesting that that the actual March habits change, and the virus does whatever it's going to do, but it is weird. Like, I think a little bit about you watch Game of Thrones or whatever, and it's like, how is nobody freaking out about all these things? And it's like, because it's just the world, and I guess this is just the world now.
Well, yeah, like on a certain level, like the world is always different. The world is always changing. It's very rare that it changes at this kind of speed. But at the same time, I don't think that the world we're going to get on the other end of this is going to immediately. I think it's going to look more like we are now,
Right.
but the good parts of what we are now, and less like exactly how it was before. Now I don't I'm still kind of bullish on the I don't think that like we're never gonna have a birthday party again. Like I don't think it's anything like that bad. Uh but I do think the way we think about stuff is different. Hell, when I went to go get the haircut, the new system that they have, which I assume they put in post COVID, because otherwise I would have used it before, is just like there to maximize contactless payment. So it's like I could just pay for my haircut at the point that I booked it. I could give the tip, and boom. Now I just walk in, sit down, get the haircut, walk out. Nobody talked. The barber didn't talk during the haircut. Very excited about that.
So you
And
you
so
you
if
got the
that's
quiet Uber ride.
so good. So good. So good. Yeah. No,
uh,
I just need a little selfie stick so I
uh,
could just put my phone up so I can like still be in like the position where they're cutting the hair. And I have a little selfie stick that just sticks my phone right up, and I could have watched football. Boy, it would have been great.
there are parts that I love all three of my girls being around and just sort of like, I mean, granted, I have to put on pants first thing in the morning. And as is reminded by the half dozen sticky notes all over the place that just say pants, and the gym shorts that are hung on every doorknob.
Yep.
But on the flip side, it is kind of cool for me to just kind of walk by and have Josie say like, "Hey, Dad," and I just casually ask like, "Hey, are you in school?" And she goes like, "Oh no, we're back in 5 minutes or whatever." Like that genie is not going back in the bottle, and there'll be some kind of financial reckoning about how much money is being spent for infrastructure that's not being used, especially because I know there was some article that indicated that kids are a little better at communicating the virus than originally figured. But I kind of dig all the kids doing school from home.
Yeah, I mean, I think that genie is out of the bottle for a lot of people. Like, just to say, like, all right, well, if let's understand that X amount of like why you buy a house if you're either got kids or gonna have kids is to be in a neighborhood for which has a good school. What
And
if you
good
didn't have to worry about
fiber.
that? Yeah. Well, no, yeah. What if you cared more about fiber than you did about the school, right? What if now this was a matter of like, oh, okay, well, let's get let's get Cali. By the time Cali is at a point where you're really worrying about something more than early grades of primary school, that you're like, okay, well, let's get her into an elite online academy,
Well, and
like
that
and that is like, oh, okay, well, crap, what if that's the future? And that seems more realistic now than it ever has.
well, and then that means like kind of a second or third wave decision that is going to have another legal reckoning. Is right now where you live happens to determine what school you go to, and in a
Yeah.
world where you're doing everything online, that seems increasingly dumb and irrational. And so I don't know when that discussion comes up, but it's got to happen at some point.
Oh, I think it'll happen sooner rather than later. I mean, it will depend on exactly how much. I mean, I would say you are in a specific situation where you are largely home based, whether or not the kids are in school or not. If anything, it's like you're thrilled because you don't have to drive them anywhere.
Yes, I
You know,
definitely 3 hours of my life, like my day, expanded by 3.5 hours in this whole mess.
yeah.
Which is not
But
to
but
say
for
hooray
but
for the
for
mess,
like
but
Yeah, but for parents who have to go to work, right? Like then school is crucial. It's a whole different ball game for them to have a physical place to go. And that's before you get into whether or not you think, oh, like, will like Josie throw a fit if she's not able to go back to school when her friends are there and like she's not able to go there? Like, or does that matter? Like, I mean, I think there's a lot of, I think right now the biggest question is, by the time that this recedes and we get a vaccine and people have a reasonable amount of confidence about it, like, the big question, there will be like a land rush for a lot of these ideas, and some of them will fall by the wayside and some of them will minimize. Like, the world has a way of, you know determining in our like quiet democracy what we really want and what we really want to do. Um but I think that there's going to be a lot of different options, a lot of different. I saw a thing the other day that I had never seen in my life, and it was at a restaurant that was closing. But I've always wondered, since the advent of the smartphone, like, why we don't just order, especially repetitive stuff. Like, if you're just
Oh
at a
yeah.
bar watching
I mean, it's like
football or
it's
something, like,
never
yeah,
not
another
gonna be
pitcher, another wing,
right.
like,
It's
but to do it off your phone,
oh
like,
that
it's the easiest thing on the planet.
well, and also, I mean, like we've talked about, it's not like for me, there's ever going to be a time that I go to Wendy's and it's not going to be a number 6 spicy chicken sandwich, no mayonnaise, substitute chili for the fries, Diet Dr Pepper if they have it, But that that wonderful dream is about to be science fact. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the app doesn't just notice, it's about noon. Looks like you're heading to Wendy's. Let me just have that ready for you. And then you just
Oh,
drive
shit.
up
Well,
and
no,
pick
you're
it.
yeah. So you're saying predictive stuff. I'm literally just saying even more rudimentary than that. You're at Pluckers. Me
Yeah.
and you go to Pluckers.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, we decide we're gonna watch a football game together. If we're sitting either at the
I mean,
bar or
the
at a
reason, well, for whatever reason, the reason would be to watch the Ducks with Bryce. Come on.
there we go. We're there to watch the Ducks with Bryce, the Oregon Ducks, right? Who are not playing. But let's imagine they are. And this also exists. All we would honestly be doing is hitting a button, maybe wiping our sauce clad fingers off,
You
and
tap
then
it with
hitting,
your pinkies.
yeah, and then hitting another beer, another that. And like, I think one argument against that would be like, oh, well, you're reducing what a server does. You're reducing what a server's
I mean,
relationship to the table, and that might knock down the tip. For me, hell no. If I could just let the server know, like, all I ever want is that coded dolphin language that I could just, if I could just go like, and like my server on the other side of the restaurant would just know, oh, another thing, sure, yeah, another pitcher, I'll get another pitcher, and she wouldn't have to look back at me or anything. We would just both know exactly what that meant. I would feel closer. If I could do that via app, it'd be amazing.
I mean, I'll tell you what, man, I ain't never patiently waited to catch the eye of my smartphone, desperately hoping that it would give me attention first. It's
People are saying that they have the pads at like Chili's and Applebee's and TGI Fridays. No, enough, because they're always going to jam that with like random stuff, and it's going to be slow as hell, and you're going to have to hit another. It's like page over, and it's DOS, and it's just like slowly refreshing. Like, it's just the worst. It's a clean web form, and they just give me a QR code when I sit down, and now they know it was given to me by this server. Oh, it'd be the best. I saw it for the first time at a restaurant in Oakland, and then they closed literally that day.
also, Vampire Anarchy in the chat says, you shouldn't be tipping anyway. I stopped reading. Screw you. I will never not tip. I will always tip like a drunken millionaire forever and ever and ever. If you've ever worked for tips, then you will never not be a tipper.
I mean, that this is this is a hill I will die on. I will always join you. We will be back to back, like Double Dragon, fighting the last.
The two of us back to back at the top of a mountain, bodies falling beneath us as we go.
Oh, this is my new favorite thing, because
What's
I'll
that?
go walk around Oakland and drink beer. Because nobody gives a shit about open container laws anymore, and so I'll just bless the person who's working at this empty ass sad bar where they're selling like lemonade stand beers out of the front, and I'll just bless them with the $10 tip. Just it's my favorite thing to do. They're always thrilled. I always feel great. Like I'll get the thing and then they'll be like, okay, you're good to go. And I'll be like, can I add a tip? And usually they're like, actually, we're like adding X amount of tip on top of the thing. And I'm like, $10. And then they'll go like, really? And I'm like, and then I'm gone. I want while they're looking down at the thing, I Batman. I just like I run away so they look up and they go, huh? What?
The it's I've had Torchies a couple of times once they kind of opened up the drive-through, and technically they're open. I'm not allowed to go inside, and that's fine. But they have margaritas and stuff. And it's like I'll have one taco and a margarita, and they say, "Great, here it is. I'm putting it into your car. That will be $87." And I'm like, sounds fair to me, as I drive away. Like I'm down with all of the relaxing of so many dumb laws.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I wonder, like, once laws go away, they're hard to bring back. Like, once you've not enforced a law, it's hard to bring back. And because you get scared of enforcement. Like, that's what's happening in Oakland now. Oakland has, so Lake Merritt is its own little thing. And then on one end, it's become this vendor row. And it started after Barbecue Becky. A lot of stuff just went wild at the lake as soon as that one lady tried to call the cops, like, and everybody made fun of her.
I don't know the story of the legend of Barbecue Becky.
Barbecue Becky was this lady who, in a viral video, was calling the cops on a black family 2 years ago because they were using a charcoal grill instead of a propane grill in a so like people started recording her calling the cops, and they were like, why are you calling the cops? And the cops showed up, and the cops were like, yo, we don't want anything to do with like any of this. We're not, because everybody was already riled up and they're yelling and screaming, and it became barbecuing while black. And so it brought a ton of attention to Lake Merritt, but it also brought a tremendous reservation from the police department to do anything by the lake because nobody wanted to be Officer Asshole. And everybody was ready. This thing had just gone viral, so nobody was wanted to do it again. So one of the big things that happened is a edge of the lake became this vendor row. And for me, I'm like, I'm a little bit more laissez-faire, whatever. As long as
you're like, hey man, I'm cool, I'm hip, I'm with it. I've been to Epcot. Which one of you is Germany?
Exactly. It's like they sell weed at the Oakland Epcot Pavilion. Yeah. This is amazing. So I also don't live across the street from that vendor row.
Oh, so you don't have to deal with
and so apparently stuff gets lit like after sun goes down because everybody's out there. The party never stops if there's a tent that's selling everything you need to party, right? It's not like when you go to a park and you're like, oh, somebody got to make a beer run. We might as well just pack up and go home and we'll go to somebody's house, blah, blah, blah. No, this is like, it goes all night. And now the city is in this weird position because it's been allowed to go on for so long that they're like, maybe we should have a pilot program to like sell this row as stalls. And the people across the street are like, what the fuck? Like you just stopped enforcing the law and then you went for 2 years and then you're like, now we'll make it legal. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
You know what I have not seen, like, hardly at all. Like maybe once a month. That used to be a daily occurrence. Speed traps. I am seeing jack shit of speed trap ticketing enforcement happening, and I, for one, am for it. I mean, because it's like I think that's I don't speed at all. because I can't afford to, and because I've just driven enough and I know it sucks enough or whatever. And I can,
Yeah.
and weirdly, I could even afford the tickets now, but I'm in a loud, boxy Jeep, and it's unpleasant to speed
Yeah.
when you're driving a cube. So
And by and large, like you've got a fun little like Disney river ride length trip between your two destinations.
right, I hop
that
on
you
the
go.
lazy river in my
Yeah.
inner tube, and then I
Yeah,
show up
and
at
then
home.
you show up, and then it's like you get back.
Right.
It doesn't really like, even if you burned rubber, if you were like Gran Turismo
You're like,
from your house to the HQ
congratulations,
or back.
you saved 12 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you're going to hit the same lights anyway. And that's where the vast majority of the time comes from.
Yeah, but I think that's probably a little bit more universal than one might think, especially right now where it's like, every traffic stop is a potential career-ending hazard for a cop. I certainly wouldn't want that duty.
I mean, I just think in general it's good. I think it's just like the less time that we have a situation where a cop's like literally out to get me, like the better. I don't know.
And I think maybe that's part of it too, is that it's kind of fun to not constantly be scared when I'm driving.
Yeah.
Which was definitely the case for years and years and years, and I'm kind of digging like that not happening.
No, yeah. By the way, we're thinking about getting a car.
What kind of car?
So I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Nobody tell Ashley.
Okay,
All right.
it's a Jeep.
So I came in to this negotiation like with an unreasonable offer because I know she's going to want some fucking roller skate where only
A
like
Leaf.
where only tears cried when you are at your most pure can power it, and you need to lock eyes with AOC to start the engine, and like it just, she was gonna want a tiny little thing, a little little dandelion that blows out on the way.
Swear to God,
right?
if this ends in a Cybertruck, I'm gonna ejaculate right in my pants.
No. It's not cool. There's nothing cool, right? But I know that we're gonna have to settle on something that we both agree on.
Right.
And I know that if we're gonna get something, I at least want space, because like once I got my like Toyota Matrix, I'm like, I'm never getting anything without a hatchback. Anything without storage space. There's just too many times where I just needed just enough space. Like you go to IKEA and like I'm not strapping shit to the top of the car. Like, I just
Audio
need to-
listeners,
yeah.
I'm vigorously nodding to every bit of this. This is somebody who, for my job, I had to have an SUV of some variety to
Yes.
carry 300 pounds of show that always lived in the back of the SUV or whatever. And that's why I'm such a fan of my Jeep Wranglers, because it's so wildly impractical. And like
Yes.
I've gone over a year now without even having windows on it, and just it rains and the water sloshes forward and backwards, and the kids hate it, and I love it. And there's melted something or others back there. I don't even
Sure.
effing know. It's
Whatever.
great. It's awesome.
So here's my initial offer. Like Silverado. Like Ford F-150.
Oh
my
my
initial.
God.
That's my initial, and I'm just like, hey, look, I got this truck when I was in South Carolina. Like it was like the last rental car I had, and I gotta tell you, I didn't think of myself as a truck guy, but truck gerbs like was it was a good gerbs. Like it was a good way to live. Way high up. I actually sat down when I was recording the PXC Extra. I just fucking hopped on into the flatbed and just sat there Indian style. Like, look, man, I was kind of into it. So
Title of episode: Jury goes truck nuts.
So I'm like, and then I'm trying to sell her. I'm like, yo, you could be truck wife. Like you could like have like, I love my truck, like t-shirts and stuff. And like, and I know she's not going to go for it. So nobody tell her. I didn't really want a truck, but I just wanted to get out. Like we're not getting the roller skate.
Right.
And I'm gonna counter that with we're not getting the truck.
She would have called your bluff if you'd said, you know, it'd be really practical, a big rig. Think about it. We could attach a semi to anything.
It's just one of those things where I was like, we can't come down on the middle on like a Civic.
Yeah.
Because I need that hatchback. I just know like we're going to be in a situation at some point where I'm gonna be fucking crawling into the back of the Civic, and I'm like opening the thing to put the other thing down, and it gives you like a 1 foot by 3 foot little soup strainer that I'm trying to put an IKEA furniture thing into, and I'm like, I just know I need the hatchback, so that's why I had to start truck. And she's like, absolutely not. We're not getting a truck. And I'm like, okay, all right. And then she said, well, I'm okay with a hatchback. She's allergic to the phrase SUV. She doesn't want to hear SUV, but she says hatchback.
Crossover? Can you say crossover?
Whatever. I don't give a fuck, man. I know they're all the same fucking thing. But she's like, my only thing is I want a hybrid, which made me think that we might be on the way to purchasing an all new RAV4 hybrid.
An all new RAV4 hybrid with the magic overhead view to help with the parking and all that stuff. How amazing. You should just sell it. You're like, hey man, take it for a test drive. Put these goggles on.
Exactly.
Off we go.
So I have done no research, but that was like the first thing where she's like, okay, I might be into it, but like I would want a hybrid. And I'm like, oh,
the RAV4 was always pretty fuel efficient, and then in the hybrids even more so. I mean, it's a tiny 4-cylinder job in that world.
Yeah. So we're in the opening stages of it, but I think part of what put it over the top was the idea that like, and look, we're still in bad air quality now, but like there was a thought where we were just going to be like fucking bounce for X amount of time. Like her boss was just like, hey, you should leave for a month. And for me, like all I could think of was like, okay, well, is this a situation where I'm like telling her like, okay, well, bon voyage, enjoy being somewhere. Like it's not going to work for me to push her off and have her go somewhere because she doesn't want to fly. So we're going to have to drive, and I'm not going to put her on the road by herself for, however many hours.
Would you consider a Model X? That's sort of a right now available middle road. That's, and full electric would probably be fun and make her happy.
So the big question is how long we're going to be in Oakland. Because like, despite the fact that there are a lot of Teslas on the road, I don't know if in this particular moment in time, if I want to put a Tesla in street parking in Oakland every day.
Yeah, just for the anxiety that it'll.
I had a Toyota Matrix, an 07 Toyota Matrix with a gigantic dent in the back bumper, and it got its windows smashed in nary once. It just sat there with its tinted ass windows and never barred. I would leave my wallet in the car, and I would come back and it would still be there. I just don't want to screw around. I'm with parking a Tesla on the street here at some point, maybe, but no,
I could definitely appreciate that. I mean, it's like I can't imagine. I mean, even parking my Jeep when we were shooting downtown all the time was always an affair where it's like, okay, well, I at least have to seal up all these windows, even though I know somebody could just slash right through them with a knife and might, but that would at least be an indication of intent and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's, but now that, everybody's homebound, and we're way far out in the boonies, it's been kind of nice. Like, I leave my backpack in an open Jeep all the time. And it's like,
Yeah.
if you're going to steal it, I guess. I don't know. And then,
Yeah.
nobody seems to. And now the cops aren't, doing speed traps, so I could actually get somebody out here.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So we're at the beginning. We're at the beginning, but that was it. The idea of mobility is just a little bit more front of mind these days, especially with honestly, it's not the pandemic that's going to run us out of Oakland. It's the wildfires, because the wildfires were bad last year. And that's the first time that we kind of like really put a dent into the idea of like buying anything out here. It's like, this ain't getting better. And it's not like Ashley's not like Ashley's lungs are getting better either.
Well, and it's not it's not like California's getting any wetter. It's not like the temperature's getting any cooler. And it's not like it's not like the parking in Oakland's going to get any safer.
Yeah, I mean, like, we could move to a place with a covered or with an indoor garage, and that might be a thing. But even then, it's like, if for 3 weeks out of the month, Ashley can't leave the house, or when she does, she's wheezing. Like, I mean, she was so fucked up by it last year. She was literally coughing into like Christmas. Like she had like a crazy cough like into Christmas. And that was because she was just going to work and coming back wearing an N95 mask. That's the reason why we had so many N95 masks in our fucking apartment, was not because we were like super COVID ready. It was because we had pre-bought them when the wildfire stuff happened. And then of course COVID happens and we're like, let's do our duty. V for victory, friends. We're all surviving together. It's London during the raids. Let's give all of our N95 masks to the hospital. And then nothing really happened in Oakland. And we're like, fuck. Now there's no N95 masks to buy.
Well, and like we were talking about with the kids being able to work from home, I would imagine, I mean, if she's largely working from home now, that telepresence, that ability to do the functional part of your job is only going to get more available, right, over time?
I mean, it's certainly a big thing now. It's a big issue where, the rumors are that a lot of these HQs are not thinking about ordering people to get back into the office until 2022.
I mean, especially when it's straight up like, I mean, I haven't heard pitchforks or anything rattling, but the whispers are like, I don't want to be the company that orders somebody to come in and says you have to.
I mean, if you look at how in sync all these fucking tech companies are, it's pretty ridiculous. Like, even down to like, it's like, I almost think that they, for their own culpability, they need to like, when everybody bans Alex Jones on like one day, and you're like, all right, like,
that seems like
a
coincidence.
I get it. Well, because either it's they all knew that they were going to do it, or they got word, well, Facebook's going to ban them, so let's all ban them while everybody's mad about that. Or it's like they find out and they're like, fuck, now's the time if we want to do it without being the only one. But yeah, in the Bay Area, it's crazy because they all built these massive
mega
palaces,
structures, yeah.
Or they rented top dollar downtown business real estate, and now God knows when they'll even be able to use it. I mean, fuck, Twitch just built a new headquarters like 2 years ago, or maybe less than that.
Man, there's a small media company that I know just built an entire headquarters with the intention purely of bringing in all-star guests. Beautiful 7.5 acre compound. They had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars.
The big bushy tail, big beautiful teeth. Oh, my producer Tara Cates is telling me it may indeed be a mod.
It may indeed be where I'm sitting right now. I mean, it's like, and look, I mean, we're making our way, we're figuring it out, but it's like orders of magnitude at a lower level.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think of it like, and that I guess gets us back to our central theme of like what what survives? Like, what are the lessons? Like, there's a lot of stuff that I do think the stuff that won't go away are the things that were probably 4 years away in March that are now here just because of tech adoption or getting used to like breaking the habit of how things were before, where it's like now everyone knows how to use Skype and Zoom. Like there was earlier this year, you might have said, "Hey, is Skype okay? Is Skype, have you could you use Skype or Zoom or whatever?" And now it's like, "No, like what do you prefer? Skype, Zoom, some other VoIP thing?" Everybody knows FaceTime, grandmas, babies, uh, 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 everybody knows how to use that stuff now in a way that they never needed to before because they could live another life. And I think a lot of that's the same with working remote. For some people, it's going to work really, really good, and you're going to have more of a hey, stay home, especially if you're sick. If you come in here and you're sick, I'll probably kick you in the face. Or it's like no, this needs to be better in person. And for you, I mean, I think you are you're on the cusp of. I mean, you already have had people there
Yeah,
to
yeah,
shoot, right?
yeah, and they it's there are procedures. There's if you're not on camera, and then everybody's wearing masks, and there's hand sanitizer to beat the band all over the place, and we maintain social distancing or whatever, and it's you know if I say we're doing it responsibly, that would imply that any of us really have a clue about what that means. But we're doing it as responsibly as we can, and fingers crossed, knock on wood, nobody's gotten sick. And it seems like doing regular pods and then bringing it apart. It's like you get tested on your way in, you get tested on your way out, and everybody knows. And it's we're small enough that we can get away with that, but man, I don't see
Yeah.
how you do that at a 10,000 person megaplex company.
Well, I don't think you can. And I think the idea is uh we're going to continue to know more about this. I'm going to say something. I would hope that everybody can just let me finish the sentence before you auto complete it with a version of this argument that you have yelled about online.
Yeah. Fucking tipping rules to the death.
God, I love tipping. And pay your people a fair wage. Restaurants can do it now. They can do it now if they want to. Like,
And you know what? I'll still
yeah. And you know what? I would still love to tip. I would love to tip. I would love to tip. I do love to tip. It's fine.
I'll buy a Scoopered Over girl has it, man. It's like buy the steak and then tip the cow. Boom, 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 boom.
Boom, boom. Yeah, if you don't think that tipping is a good idea, then you have never worked with enough restaurant managers. Okay. Besides fuck, I went on that tipping thing and now the argument. Okay. Not to say that we know everything about COVID. We don't. Not to say that there can't be long-term health effects that if you get it. We don't. We don't know. The dangerous part about COVID, the most dangerous part about COVID is how far it spreads and keeping it away from people with underlying health conditions. That's the biggest thing. So we need to be understanding. That's why mitigation is important. That's why social distancing is important, because it spreads very fast and it might get to somebody for whom would have it be devastating. So I think when we go forward and when we have a vaccine and we have another, year under our belts of therapeutics and how to deal with it immediately, like I think that there will be more of a God damn it, I got COVID. Like and less of a Everybody under your desks.
Um.
Uh,
Oh, you were expecting an explosion after that.
no, no, no. I
Yeah.
just because
I
as soon
think
as
you're
you
accurate.
say, as soon as you say, the more we know about COVID, the less we're going to realize that it's a death sentence. Because I don't mean that. Like, I just mean we're going to know. We do know it's not a death sentence for a lot of people. It's not to say that we shouldn't mitigate. It's not to say that we shouldn't take these things. Not to say that we shouldn't need other stuff and other safeguards before we go forward. But it's just if this is something that we have to live with, then we do have to be realistic about it, and we need to get out of this like religious mindset of either you are taking it seriously or you are not taking it seriously. And if I perceive you to be on the opposite side of my line, then you will be destroyed.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% correct. I think that uh, somebody in the chat says it'll be like chickenpox, where it's like, somebody gets exposed to chickenpox. You don't know if they just had it and got over it and have nothing to fear or not. Uh, and all of that is contingent on what we learn and how information has to spread apace with the virus itself. And the more information we have, the more informed decisions we can make. And because I'll tell you what, one thing that spreads much faster than this virus is panic. Because, hoo boy, that purity panic.
It's crazy. I mean, it's it is a disheartening lesson to look at the craziness that happened and realize that like, and maybe this is just my own, I'm so dialed in with the politics stuff, and uh I could probably find counterfactual examples to show how we did pull together as a species and how we did get through this together. And I'm looking at a very fractured point of view on this, but it is sad that like this happened and all we did was find new ways to yell at each other. And like we were like just giddy. It was like just, oh, like Christmas morning, new grievances I can apply to my enemies. Ha, hooray. Like now I have a whole new vocabulary that I can yell at the people I don't like about. And I
Well,
can
and
get,
a new outward signal that will infuriate the other side, or that I can judge them for, besides what color they're
I
wearing.
know. Now I have a new 2020, a special edition way for me to look at all my like-minded friends and point over my shoulder and go, these assholes, am I right?
Right.
Like,
It used to be like, now I could do it without even seeing what bumper stickers they have. Now I could
yeah.
do it just by looking at their face. Oh, I could tell you're one of them because you are or are not wearing this garment.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think that's that at a certain point that's a little disheartening. But also again, I'm like I'm probably just I'm basing so much of what I'm saying about that on social media, and
Well, and I think you are at the vanguard of it, which means you are the most sick of it, and I think that your disgust is going to echo backwards for everybody who was less dialed in and started less early than you, and hopefully.
of all the shutdown stuff and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
Like,
or just and also it's like judging people is exhausting on both sides, and deciding that you're a prognosticator and that you can predict the future, and well, I read so and so, like all that shit's exhausting, and I don't think, I think you are ahead of me on that wave, and I am feeling that exhaustion. And I
yeah.
think eventually it will reach my loved ones and my parents, and maybe eventually Facebook. It's
Dare to dream.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, all I really want is for people to understand that this is fucking traumatic for everybody. And everybody's processing it their different ways, and everybody's staking their claims. It I will say it for the millionth time that whatever sick fucker who's programming the computer simulation we live in that decided to put the once in a century pandemic in the same year as an election year is a real piece of shit. Because I
If for
do
no
think that
other
that's a
reason,
part of it.
it's fucking it up for Justin. And fuck you for fucking it up for Justin. Here's a tip, asshole programming the universe. Don't do that.
Well, yeah. I mean, there is my own professional. I mean, I'll tell you what. I will tell you after looking at some of like the differences in the expenses of this year versus last year. I know one LLC that will be buying all of its flights for 2021 and a new computer before the end of this year. Like we're going to need to get those expenses up because this was a high watermark for income and not a whole lot of expenditures to show for it, which I need to. If there is a cycle for investment, it will be at the very end of this year when I have a sense of what we have left over.
We'll know how bad the problem's gotten when on December 30th, there's a tweet from Justin that just all caps says Cybertruck.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Business expense.
Yeah, it's I I just want people to know that it's okay to be scared and that it doesn't help when you're pointing at scared people and saying fuck those scared people.
Yeah.
Like that's my, and I know it doesn't read as scared and you're scared. And so if you're scared and you're feeling this certain way, how could somebody else be feeling scared?
Right.
Because they're acting a
If,
different way.
if you're scared, then they have to be the asshole. There's only scareds and assholes, and both.
And that's
spoiler alert. They're the same.
Everyone's scared.
Yes, exactly.
Everyone's scared. The person who won't leave their house and is screaming that somebody on Twitter is at a pool party. Guess what? Everybody at that pool party is fucking terrified. And the way that they're going about it is to be reckless. And like, there's no, like, no, it is not. No, everybody is not pushing in the same direction. And also, social media makes it easier than it's ever been to surface the people. Like, how many times have we had the thing on Twitter where we're freaking out about the ding dongs doing ding dong stuff, where it's like the ding dongs in the pool at in the Lake of the Ozarks, the ding dongs who are playing blackjack the first day that Vegas opened.
This ding dong Karen who doesn't want to wear a mask and is screaming,
freaking out, and she's in Kansas, right? None of this is in the same place. None of this is in like one area, but yet they are all in the village of our mind.
Yep.
And we are as upset with them as we would be upset with our neighbor, maybe more so because we have to face our neighbor at some point. But we can just be infuriated and retweet to everybody because it does, at the end of the day, we feel good lashing out, looking to our like-minded friends and saying, can you believe these assholes?
So my pick is John Ronson's "So You've Been Publicly Shamed." I think it's a really good book that I think if somebody's not read it yet, then it's sort of like a New Testament for behavior on the internet. That I think I will take anybody more seriously if I know that they've read that book. It's quite good.
And that was written from a point of view of like, oh, there's X% of our population that will really get it bad, right? And it highlights all those examples. Whereas like now we're in a little bit more of an Andy Warholian, everybody, instead of everybody being famous for 15 minutes, everybody will get 15 minutes of shame.
Yep.
Everyone will be in the barrel at some point. Everyone will get wrecked. Everyone will have some hidden transgression revealed publicly, and that's just where it is. And we'll franchise it out, and it'll happen on a local level, and sometimes it won't be a national level. But guess what? It'll hurt, and it'll be ugly.
I mean, yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about something really fun for 2 minutes.
Okay,
What's
okay.
really fun for 2 minutes?
I liked talking about VR. I hope that Quest 2 is good. I hope it gets good reviews.
It seems like the guts are really good, and that's important. Is that they're number one, cell phone parts are so efficient now,
So powerful, yeah.
so powerful that it makes sense that a headset like that can exist. But from what Andrew was saying, it's like it's also just really well optimized. Like it is designed exactly for what it needs to do, and doesn't also you want to be like, oh, but it's also another thing, which I think is part of like why the Samsung headsets were never really great, because Samsung is really the best thing that Samsung does is throw every dumb feature at the wall and then figure out the hardware they need to run all these dumb features. Whereas like Oculus, being a VR only company, was just like, all right, this is our lane. VR, you don't have to plug in.
Yeah.
Let's optimize the perfect headset for that.
I will know it has hit its mark when news stories start surfacing of people annoyed with gargoyle behavior, where people are just wearing them, walking around on the streets, and
Sure.
you know, between that and their N95 mask, we're all just Kylo Renning it.
Can you play that outside, or does it need to map indoors?
No idea. I mean, if not now, I would imagine somebody could easily AR it up because there's 4 cameras on there, right? And
all
then,
I had was I had this vision of at some point, after the war, when I can return to HQ, I just pull up, and there maybe like I imagine you with more of a beard, maybe even the hair's like grown longer, and now fully in your element, outdoors in the golden hour. It's just you with your Oculus headset on, playing Beat Saber in your underwear.
oh my
It's
god,
just like that's the Brian. Brian has leveled up. He has max XP. Like this is the final form of Brian Brushwood, just like in full self-indulgence on the land for which he has built.
this is the part where I say, "Excuse me, I'll be in my bunk."
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy hour. Night attacks happy hour. Night attacks happy hour.